Welcome back. We'll continue our delightful excursion through the Twits, and we'll start by discussing what happened last time. Now, these last two chapters are pretty easy. Monkeys and birds got together, and their plan is to turn the Twits' house upside down, take everything on the floor, put it on the ceiling. We've yet to find out why, but this last chapter, they took all of the furniture, turned it upside down, put it in an exact place where it would be if it was on the ceiling. And the chapter before that, they all got together, and they hoisted up a giant carpet and put it on the ceiling. All of this using our dear friend, the Hug Tight Sticky Glue, which has also murdered several birds, but it has come to a great adversary for them. Okay, so now we're going to look at the title and the pictures. The title and the pictures will help give us a good preview of what we're about to read. And if we have a good preview, we'll be able to comprehend better. We'll be able to remember, to understand better. Okay, so this chapter is called The Ravens Swoop Over. Now, as I read that, I think to myself, a raven is a small black bird. A raven is in literature a lot. It's been in the Bible with the Noah's Ark story, and I've also heard of Edgar Allan Poe writing a whole poem about the raven. Those are things that happen. Those are the things that I think of. See, I'm making a connection in my brain to something I've read before. The ravens swoop over. Now, whenever I think of swooping, I think of kites. I think of a kite up in the air, and the wind suddenly comes and goes like that. Swoop. So that's what I'm thinking. They swoop over. Something goes swooping over something. We don't know what over yet, but we'll keep seeing. Now we'll look at the pictures to help give us even more of a preview. There they are. There's those two frumpious freaks, right? With guns. They have shotguns, which is what they had been gone for the last couple of chapters to go buy so that they can birds off the roof. Okay. And then we see once again, oops, wrong plate. There we are. We see the Twits looking a little shocked, a little angry. We see two dark birds, which I'm going to serve are ravens, with paint brushes and something dripping off of them. And that was the only pictures in that chapter. So we will go ahead and get started on reading it. Back to the beginning of the chapter. The ravens swoop over. They had only just finished the job when the roly-poly bird came swooping in, screaming, "They're coming back! They're coming back!" Quickly, the birds flew back onto the roof of the house. The monkeys rushed into their cage and stood upside down, one on top of the other. A moment later, Mr. and Mrs. Twit came marching into the garden, each carrying a fearsome-looking gun. "I'm glad to see those monkeys are still upside down," said Mr. Twit. "They're too stupid to do anything else," said Mrs. Twit. "Hey, look at all those cheeky birds up there on the roof. Let's go inside and load our lovely new guns, and then it'll be bang, 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 and bird pie for supper." And just as Mr. and Mrs. Twit were about to enter the house, two black ravens swooped low over their heads, and each bird carried a paintbrush in its claw, and in each paintbrush was smeared with sticky glue. As the ravens whizzed over, they brushed a streak of sticky glue onto the tops of Mr. and Mrs. Twit's heads. They did it with the lightest touch, but even so, both Twits felt it. "What was that?" cried Mrs. Twit. "Some beastly bird has dropped its dirty droppings on my head." "Oh, mine too," shouted Mr. Twit. "I felt it. I felt it." "Don't touch it," cried Mrs. Twit. "You'll get it all over your hands. Come inside. We'll wash it off at the sink." "The filthy, dirty brutes," yelled Mr. Twit. "I bet they did it on purpose. Just wait till I've loaded up my gun." Mrs. Twit got the key from under the doormat, where Mugglewump had carefully replaced it, and into the house they went. Okay, so that concludes the end of that chapter. Let's go over some vocabulary real quick. We have raven is a black bird. We have swooping, which means to dive in. We have cheeky, which means being rude, or the definition is actually impudent and irreverent, which means you're not showing enough respect. Then we have whizzed, which means it went so quickly that it made a sound. Whoosh. Go quickly through the air, it makes a whooshing sound. Droppings, which are poop. And then brutes, which are a violent person or animal. In this case, they were animals. Thank you very much.